Hey everyone, I'm back again, and we are still highlighting amazing women in sports. Today, I am joined by Tina, and she's the Senior Director of Game Presentation for the Philadelphia Flyers. Tina and I met working at Monumental Sports back in the day. She has had a really awesome career at a bunch of different teams: the Sharks, the Bucks, the Lightning, I think Yes Network, just to name a few. So, super excited to have you. Thanks for joining us. And we are just really interested in hearing all about your background, what got you into sports, and some of your experiences.
I'm super excited to be here. I'm excited to reconnect.
So let's get started. Tell us a little bit about your background. You've had a really cool career, so give us the details.
So I got involved in this industry, I want to say like way back in high school, where I was used to do like school news and like stuff like that, and thought like that was all the production that would like that was all to production. It was news, TV, or film. And I had an opportunity back when the Arena Football League was still around, to shadow during a Tempe Storm game. And I just kind of kept sticking to it, and like really enjoyed that atmosphere. And then come college, I was part of a group called the Sports Entertainment Management Society, and I was a communications major, but not a but did sport management clubs and such to kind of gauge both interests. And one of my mentors that did the Storm games and also did the Lightning games, like was like, come hang out with me during the game. So I did, and he like put me right to work, like randomly stage managing things. Like, you want to go? Like, he knew, like, if you want to do this, like, just here's your chance. And then after that, he was like, do you want to kind of be my intern, volunteer for the year? And I was like, absolutely. So I was at the Tampa Bay Lightning for, I want to say, 4.5 to 5 years, working my way from like a volunteer intern to an official intern, getting credit, to part-time production assistant, and then helped from every department possible, but mainly in that event presentation world. And during that time, I was also able to kind of, because of the lockout year, and I think it was like 2012, I was able to be a community relations intern for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And it kind of, but I also like kind of involved myself in their events team to just kind of learn a little bit. And from there, had some freelance work with Yes Network, and just like tried to see all that was out there. And at the end of the day, game presentation was still it. So that's kind of like where it all began. Even further back, when I was in middle school, I shadowed at a Rays game where my
Wow.
mentor, was before then, John Franzone. And he, again, would thought ESPN was it, and like that was just news or TV. And I saw that world, and I was like, this is something I need to be interested in. And continued and remembered that he showed us everything. He had to sing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game" on the video board, and I remember that moment forever. And it just kind of led me down the path, and I never turned back. And from there, I got the big girl job in Washington D.C. as the game press coordinator for the Washington Wizards and Mystics, and produced some games for the Mystics. And went to the Sharks after that. Had a great 4 seasons there, where I really felt like I blossomed into like kind of the woman I am today, and really stood up for myself and was able to be myself for once, and not really have to live up to anyone else's expectations. And it led me here, and it led this great opportunity that I still pinch myself every day, that I'm working for a company like Comcast Spectacor and the Philadelphia Flyers, such a storied franchise in a town I've always dreamed of living in, to be honest. So it's awesome.
Amazing. Well, congrats on that, because I know that's still not too new, but sort of new, right? And then
Yeah,
with the last year, it's been interesting trying to get a hold of
very.
what you need to do. Tell us a little bit about what your actual role is. What do you do? What does game presentation mean? Production, all of that.
So game presentation's interesting. I remember back in college when I was taking a sport management class as just like an elective, and everyone was going around the room like, what do you want to do in the sports industry? And I was like, I want to be an event presentation. And everyone's like, don't you just push play? And I'm like, no.
Totally.
there's a lot there's a lot
Great.
more to that. Yeah, there's so much more to that. So game presentation is essentially almost everything happening in the bowl, except for the actual game itself on the ice, which obviously we wouldn't be there without it. But it kind of all started with just a scoreboard and a clock.
Mhm.
And then people realizing that they could take these surfaces and create a whole experience, because there's music, there's this and that, but you could tell a story from the second people get into the bowl to the time they leave. You're telling a story and you're providing an experience. Some people might not like sports that are in your building, that are coming along with their significant other, or their kids, and they're not really interested in sports, but they're there to have a good time. So my motto is, you're throwing a party for 20,000 people a night. Like that's the overall goal. And at the same time, you're also juggling sponsorship, you're juggling community relations, foundation, building needs, building messaging that needs to get out there. But you don't want the game to feel like a 3-hour commercial. So what you need to do is get those messages out there successfully, and hopefully provide the value the partner is looking for, but at the same time have provide people the fun that they're looking for. And make sure that they're there to have a good time, and the call to actions there, where the partner is getting customers, and the building is getting their messaging out. People are following rules and regulations, and the team has home ice advantage at the same time, or home court advantage, or home field advantage, whatever it may be. So we're also dealing with the control room of, depending on your building and what kind of surfaces you have and how much technology you have, it could be between 20 to 50 people that are on headset at the same time. And that you're talking to all at once. So in game presentation, you're really, people who are in producer roles are calling the show from start to finish, counting down every video, handling the lighting. Right now we have Artie Halstead, who has been at this organization, I want to say, for 15 plus years, who's a senior producer here, and he's calling the shots from start to finish. I'm kind of helping tell the story and going back and forth, making decisions. And it's a little bit different from my role in San Jose, where I was doing both of those jobs.
Oh, wow.
But it's nice here to have someone like Artie, who knows what he's doing, who's been here for so long, knows this franchise, knows this city, born and raised here, and honestly, we're a great team. We're a dynamic duo right now, and it's awesome. So, and we also have Alexa Eichler, who is another blossoming woman in sports, who's the game presentation manager, who floor manages, handles all our ice team talent and all that. So game presentation's a lot. We got a lot going on. And it's I think it's the most fun job in sports.
I don't disagree with that. And I think, it makes the difference on a person's experience, right? And they're there, a lot of people are there for the game, but you're right. It's just emotion, passion, telling that story throughout, the staging of that game. How has your experience been in what is a male dominated industry, but I can imagine that even in your niche, it's almost accentuated into a male, it's even more. So give me a little bit of how your experience has been, what you've seen across all these different teams you've been at, and, just how you've either dealt with things or, been in a position that you have felt confident or not confident, and, what that has looked like for you.
So part of that kind of goes back to, it sounds weird, but it goes back to high school. And when I was in high school, there was a class called communications technology, which I knew was the path to get to the school news. The first year you kind of did all kinds of different activities. And then the second year you were on school news, and third year and fourth year and so on, your responsibilities continued, and kind of creating a live production. And I knew I had to take that first class to get there, even though I knew there was a lot of there that I wasn't really interested in. But I also knew, because the teacher was the football coach, it was a all male class, maybe 2-3 girls out of 25 kids. And I was already not confident in a high school. I was a freshman, I didn't know what the heck I was doing. And I was I didn't let that turn me away. I remember filling out my schedule and my preferred classes or whatever. And I almost didn't check the box. And I honestly don't know. I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it. I don't know where I'd be if I didn't check that box, because the teacher was fabulous. My classmates were fabulous. Again, it was a male dominated room, and in high school, you know how boys are. It was one of those things where you're they're saying things that they probably shouldn't be saying and stuff, but I didn't really know how to speak up for myself then, but I learned a lot by being there, and learned what to say, what not to say, and that sort of thing. So it kind of started there, and I realized real quickly that this isn't going to be easy. It's going to be probably male dominated from here on out. But I found it helpful to kind of lean on the women who have kind of paved the way for us as it is. There's a lot of fabulous women in the industry that that have gone leaps and bounds to get to where they are, like Brooklyn Boyers, who was at the LA Kings for a very long time. Like I've always told my old bosses, I want to be just like Brooklyn. I really want to be just like Brooklyn. And now she's like a dear friend of mine. And it's like, she was like a celebrity to me, you know?
Yeah.
So to like kind of lean on them and just ask for advice whenever I need it. Like their words mean so much. This past year during COVID, it's actually been super helpful because there's a group, the Information Display and Entertainment Society, the IDEA conference that we go to. We do we monthly women in sports calls. So it's fabulous. Like we just had one this morning. It's every Wednesday or every last Wednesday of the month at 11 a.m. and the same group of girls gets on and just talks about what's on your mind. We have topics, we have guest speakers. It's something to make sure, like, you know, sometimes I'm not crazy, right? This doesn't just happen to me. And a lot of times everyone has a similar story. Luckily enough for me, all of my supervisors and the men in my life have been, at least the people who are above me or were my boss or supervisor, have been nothing but supportive and let me speak my mind and giving me the opportunities and never stunting my growth ever. They've always encouraged me to try what I want to do, like whether they're old school or like, that's not how I would do it, but give it a shot. Like, you know, so it was just, I feel very fortunate that I haven't dealt with nearly the severity of some of what other people have experienced. But again, being in situations where you're like, should they really be saying this? Do they know I'm here? Like, and I've learned to speak up for myself. I used to say, that doesn't bother me. You can say anything in front of me, like whatever. And really deep down, I'm like grossed out or like, I don't feel comfortable with what they're saying. But at the end of the day, like I have now learned to kind of speak up for myself and be like, don't say that, you know, like, or we belong here kind of thing. Like, it doesn't, you know what I mean?
Has that affected, you know, what you've looked for in, you know, continuing your career, you know, as you've moved? Has that been a pinpoint of like when you're interviewing for culture of like making sure that like as much as it can be, there's a support system in place, or, you know, asking around to make sure that that organization feels at least even equality, however much you can be, before you go somewhere else?
As I was leaving the Sharks, I honestly, like, personally was not ready to leave the Sharks. I really, really, really enjoyed my time there, and we've just started. I mean, maybe about a year. Everything, the time frame seems so weird with COVID. I was like, last year, but it was really like 2 years ago. But we started like these Women of Teal meetings and did Women of Teal nights, where it was like trying not to be like hockey and heels or something like that, where it was kind of like segregating or stereotyping women as sports fans. But we would do these Women of Teal, and we'd highlight like women in tech, women in sports. Our, like, I know Alaska Airlines was a huge partner of ours at the time that I was in San Jose, and we'd have like their CMO come and speak, Kaiser Permanente, and big partners and women that are in huge leadership roles speak at that. And it was super awesome to see at the Sharks. There was such support. Like our general manager, Doug Wilson, attended pregame. There was a game that night, and it was a pregame event, and he was in the room and engaging, and it was amazing. And even when I left the team, he left me a voice. Like, he was our general manager. I barely interacted with him. Like, we knew each other. It was, but again, like, he's your general manager, and he left me a voicemail, like saying like how much of an impact I had, and that the Flyers are lucky to have a woman in this position. And it was just, it means a lot. And when I was interviewing here, like, I certainly did ask about like, what does the leadership team look like? And I believe we're at the point where I want to say we're at 50%, if not more, women in this executive roles. And that's in SVP or above, not just director. So it's super helpful. Like when I'm in department head meetings, at least half of us, if not more, are females. And it's incredible to see where I'm one of, so we have a department of 6 and there's only 2 females in it, but at the same time, like we blend so well, and we're a team and everyone trusts us. And it's super enlightening, and it's super inspiring to see that the team is engaged with female leadership. And not our president, Valerie Camillo, is a female, and she is bringing this organization to new heights every single day and empowering me to make decisions. And I'm brand new, and she trusts me, you know, so it's awesome.
That's awesome. Switching gears to almost the other side of, and not internal employment, but because you are, you know, creating the production for a game, have you done any shifts in what that looks like in terms of like your, whether they're the videos or the vignettes or even on the sponsorship side, gearing more towards women fans. Has there been any conversations around like not just your employment internally places, but also the fandom and the women, becoming more of a priority to target from game day stuff?
A little bit here and there. We definitely cater like back. I want to say back in the day, but it wasn't that long ago where most hockey arenas played like nothing but like classic rock,
Yeah.
like all the time. And it's like the old white male is your target audience in hockey. And like, luckily enough, most of the organizations I've been at and worked at, the game presentation department's challenging that because we see the people that are in the audience every day, and we're like, just because like that's the season ticket holder account doesn't mean they're at the game every day. Like there's 20,000 people in this building. That's 20,000 different music tastes that are in this building. Like people, not every person just wants to see a vignette of players working out all the time. Like that's not really it. So like we try to cater our music to kids, to the older fan base and newer fan base, every demographic you could possibly imagine. So not just to women, to everyone. We don't want to alienate, or like we don't want to make anyone feel like an outsider, like this doesn't cater to me, because in reality, like there is no one type of sports fan. If you want to grow the business, you need to cater to women, you need to cater to all races and backgrounds. You need to make sure that everyone walks out having a good time. So this past month of March, Women's History Month, our creative team, separate department from myself, but we work very closely together. Our creative team puts together these pieces called New Heights, and they focused on female hockey players in the Snyder hockey program. And then same with Black History Month. We did this. It's a great 15-minute episode, just focusing on these different backgrounds and these different generation of hockey fans and players. We run it's too long to run in game, but we run a promo during our game on Women in Sports Day. It was like National Girls and Women's in Sports Day. Alexa, the rock star in our department, made a whole video of all the headshots of every female in our company, part-time, full-time, everything. And just basically had a moment to celebrate them. And we didn't have fans, but our fake noise, we ran a really loud cheer. And then we ran it again during when we started having fans this month, which was awesome. And it got a nice round of applause. And it's great to highlight the people who spend their hard work here. And people in the audience probably think this is an all male company, like to see that there's women behind the scenes putting on this experience is probably, there could be a little girl out there that's like, I didn't know I can work for the Flyers. I thought it was a boys club. And it's like, no, you got these amazing women here.
For sure. That actually leads me exactly into my next question for you, which is, what advice would you give women who want to work in the sports industry, who are either little girls now, who are looking, after college or looking after high school, and, based on your path, what advice would you give them?
So put yourself out there and don't be afraid to ask questions. So like if you see a job out there, don't be afraid to look for the email address of the person who's in the hiring manager role or somebody that you think is in that role. Like you don't want to pester them, but like no one's going to deny a question, And if they do, like then that's not the right move, So it's just put yourself out there, apply for what you see out there, because you never know. You honestly never know what it's going to lead to. Everything happens for a reason. I firmly believe that. And when you put your mind to it, like it's so cliche, you can accomplish anything, but it's the truth. And like when you're interviewing and when you're having discussions with people, be yourself, because if you're trying to be somebody you're not, you're selling yourself short. Because like when you're interviewing, if you're trying to be someone you're not and they hire you, and you're not who they thought you were, and it can end up being negative, or you're trying to put up a persona of who you're not, you're going to be miserable yourself. So every interview I've ever done, I mean, in the beginning, maybe not so much, but now I feel like I go into it and I'm like, if they don't like me for me, then it's not right, because I'm just going to be miserable at the end of the day. So go into it being yourself. Don't try to be who you're not, because it'll, whatever happens. It'll be the right move, and you'll make the right decision.
Yeah. I always say like that if you're doing it right, you shouldn't actually be nervous in an interview, because you shouldn't actually enjoy what you're talking about. I've got into interviews where they have asked me about, my career, and there's so much exciting stuff that I've done that I forget that I'm actually in an interview sometimes, in my past. And because I just love what I'm talking about and I love what I did. And so to your point, I think if you have passion and drive, like you should be able to just be excited about what you're talking about.
Exactly. And don't be afraid, and don't be afraid to, like I said, ask questions, not only like when you're applying for jobs, but when you're at a job. Like, don't be afraid to not know something. It's totally fine to not know something. And especially in game presentation, every building you go in is different. The pieces of technology, overall, a lot of the stuff accomplishes the same thing, but all the technology is different in every building. People use different systems, whether it's Ross, electronics, like it's just so many different brands and different ways to put on a show that, like, I still probably, there's pieces of machine in San Jose that I needed to still figure out how to exactly operate. Like, I'm still learning here, because every time you go to a new building or a new job or a new opportunity, like, something's going to be different, and the way somebody does something's going to be different.
Totally. So a two-part question for you. What do you hope to see in the future of just game presentation in general, and how do you see that evolving from a technology standpoint, from an engagement and digital, all of that? And then secondarily, how do you see the future, or hope to see in the future, of growth with specific to women in, in sports or in the positions of production or game entertainment? So two sides, one just industry and one specific more to the women.
So industry wise, and I think we're on a great path now, is to not, I guess, I don't know if segregate's the right word, but I touched on it earlier, is to not try to like cater to like one specific fan type. Like,
Mhm.
I do think like you can create home ice advantage and also put on a show that appeases almost everyone in this building. Every butt in the seat will relate to something that you put on your board, or a song that you play, or a promotion or prize you give out, something along those lines. And I think we're moving in the right direction. And then also, depending on the organization you're at, like within the organization, I would hope that those in other departments trust game presentation to do what they know is right, and to know that specifically like partnerships or ticket sales or whatever it may be, we always have the client in mind. We're never trying to just say no to say no. We always have this idea, and it's to put the client in the best scenario possible, because we want them to either have a good time or sell their product. We're not trying to sabotage them, kind of thing. And then we're moving in the right direction more and more, where we're earning trust, and most of the time come out on the right side of that. So we're moving in the right direction. Technology is growing. Teams are getting new video boards, special effects. That's my favorite thing in the world. I love it. We have a full-time lighting director here, and he does flames and pyro, and we have 180 light fixtures. It's amazing. I love it. I love it, love it, love it. So really, like, and the addition of special effects to a show, I think, can change the whole mood. So there's
Sure.
things I'm a technology nerd. I love all that stuff.
Yeah, they started adding all of the like crazy light capabilities of like the on court or on ice, like 3D effects. I mean,
Yep.
it changed presentation.
Yeah, like, and then companies like Pixmob, who are doing wristbands and stuff like that. Like in San Jose, we would rent projectors. Here we own them. But in San Jose, every playoffs and opening night, we'd rent projectors, and we would rent wristbands. We wouldn't rent the actual wristbands, but the technology to deploy the wristbands. I don't know how to describe it, but it just, something about making the fans feel like they are a part of the show with those wristbands, and the 3D projection is just like unbelievable. When the second those wristbands light up, no matter how many times we use them, you hear the whole building like gasp. And it's
I agree. I remember the first time I saw those in play. It was the Oprah tour at in DC when we were there, and she used them for like some sort of like a sunrise or something like that. And I remember that was just like, it was the first time I saw that technology. It was just so fascinating. It really does make you feel it's crazy.
when I was an intern in Tampa, Coldplay came through, and I don't think they used Pixmon, but I forget the name of the company they used. But that was the first time I'd seen anything like that. They like paid us to like pull the tabs on the wristbands before the show, and
For fun.
as a reward, we got to stay and watch. They gave us like a ticket to go sit and watch, and that's how they did it in every building. The volunteers who came to do it, like, your payment was come watch the show.
Yeah.
And I watched it, and I remember taking videos. I'm like, why can't we do this in sports? And little did I know, that was already in the works. Like, somebody's probably already done it, but to me, it was before social media. I mean, social media was out there, but like, it wasn't as big, and things weren't as viral. So I didn't realize that, like, yeah, this can be done in sports. And then when I came to San Jose, like, they use them all the time, and at idea conferences and stuff, they would promote them, and it's just unbelievable. It's absolutely unbelievable. You can create such an atmosphere and just an energy from lights. It's unbelievable. But to the women's side, I think the more of these support groups that we have, and the more conferences, and the more of these virtual events to have girls kind of lean into, especially like young girls and mentorships and stuff like that, like so that they know that there is an opportunity for them, is goes leaps and bounds, and can change people's lives, because there wasn't as much of that. There was, at the virtual world specifically, and groups like that when I was in college or in high school. I just kind of had to figure it out for myself. But there's so many resources out there, and there's so many more that are just to come, and there are so many more ideas that we're coming up with at these conferences on how to get young girls and women in college and so on and so forth involved and on this career path to change the game presentation world every single day. And I see it. There's more and more women every single day on these calls, and it's super inspiring to see that
Yeah.
we're being trusted with something like this. Not that we shouldn't be, but it's great to see it, because after a long time it was just men in those leadership positions.
Yeah. No, totally. I'm on the path of like uh, not wanting sports to be not a male dominated industry and just an industry. It is just
Yes.
an industry. And I think there's so much growth, and especially in the leadership. So it's super exciting to see, and super exciting to just keep watching and having those conversations. And these types of conversations I think are great to help enhance that. My very last question for you is, what is your most favorite promotion or activation that you've put on at a game, whether it be a beard cam, a smile cam, or any of those things?
Oh man, I don't in recent memory, I don't know if it's my most favorite, but in recent memory, here at the Flyers, we've really embraced the fake crowd noise.
Mhm.
So we haven't been doing it every game, at least right now, but we did it a couple of games. We've been doing real noise versus fake noise, and making the real fans win. And like our crowd noise operator, like our fake noise crowd operator, is really like throwing things in the air and like acting like, and he boos himself at the end when he
Oh,
loses. And it's great. I mean, like, we're embracing it. We have this tool to at 50% capacity to make it fair in every building, which is fantastic, because every building doesn't have fans. Not every building has limited capacity. And it's I feel like, not being biased, but I feel like we're utilizing it to its fullest, and not just making it be this random thing we have to cheer on plays. And we're having fun with it, and the fans were
I
having fun with it too.
I love that because people know that it's fake noise. So like I feel like some broadcasts or team like lean into the fact that it's fake
Yeah,
because everybody knows. So I love that.
exactly.
I think that's amazing.
Exactly. Like, we have this toy that is being provided to us, and it's like, we're not going to waste our operators' time, like, let them have fun with it. And our arena host actually had that idea, and I was like, that's brilliant. Like, that is awesome. So we've been doing it. Hopefully when the team comes back, we'll bring it back. We kind of gave it a rest for a couple games. But we're going to bring it back.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me. I think you just have the most amazing career, and wish you all the luck with, as fans finally get back in the arena, and, you keep giving them an enjoyable and fun experience. So thanks for joining us and telling us all about yourself.
Thank you for having me. And I was so excited to reconnect with you. I missed you.
Same here. We'll definitely keep in touch, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks.